Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's Astrology News Report, an alternate view of world events as seen through the lens of Vedic astrology, presented by yours truly, Ron Berger. Today is March 31st, 2019. In this segment, we take a look at the week that was and see how the planets' patterns in the zodiac matched up with the past week's events. But before we begin, an important announcement. The Astrology News Report really needs your financial support to keep going. Even $10 helps, but you can donate any amount. So, stick around for the donation link at the end of the video. Thanks. Last weekend, Mercury was still retrograde and exactly conjunct Neptune, the planet of communication, information, facts, and reports, while backwards in the zodiac was bound up with the planet of illusion, mystery, and confusion. Really, this is the worst planetary combination for anything that needed to be clear and accurate. So, when it was announced that the Mueller Report was complete and being handed over to the Attorney General, I thought, oh no, not now. What bad timing for this to be happening. This is not going to turn out well. And indeed, after just 2 days, Mr. Barr, the Attorney General, had taken a nearly 400-page carefully worded legal document and distilled it into a mere 4-page summary in which the recently appointed Attorney General sought to emphasize how Mr. Mueller and his crew had found no wrongdoing by Mr. Trump and his campaign team. Last week, depending on which side you were on, it was either the Mueller fiasco or victory for the president. Spin pundits have been working overtime coming up with responses to the much-anticipated report, nearly 2 years in the making. But actually, what we got was not the report, but rather a Trump loyalist's description of the report. One person's perspective of the original. The actual report we are not allowed to see. Anyway, 2 parts here. Was a crime committed? Well, a bunch of people have already been indicted and some are going to prison. But to the charge of the president himself committing the crime of conspiracy, the answer, according to the AG's summary, is no. But then there's the other charge, obstruction of justice. Commentators have been making a big deal out of the rather ominous statement, which was, in fact, in Mr. Barr's letter, that Mueller declined to exonerate the president. So, that means he did find evidence of wrongdoing, but didn't feel entitled to go through with indictment and prosecution. In other words, that's the job of Congress. But should we take Barr's statements on faith without the evidence of the full report? Don't we need to see the underlying evidence? Well, can astrology tell us anything about faith and the truth? How about the planet of truth, Jupiter, which, by the way, is also the planet of faith? Okay, well here we see something concerning. Jupiter has been at the very end of Scorpio and now moves into Sagittarius, where it gets stuck at 0 degrees Sagittarius before going retrograde on April 11th. This area of the zodiac, the borderline between a water sign, Scorpio, and a fire sign, Sagittarius, has a special designation in Vedic astrology called Gandant. It is considered to be an area of extreme weakness. A planet in this part of the zodiac is barely able to function. Okay, what are we talking about here? Jupiter, the planet of truth and justice, stuck at a degree that robs it of any power to function. On April 11th, Jupiter begins its 4-month-long retrograde period, and slowly, as it starts backing up in the zodiac, Jupiter returns to Scorpio in the last week of April. Okay, that's Jupiter going back over the previously traversed degrees of the zodiac. It's the planet of truth and wisdom, retracing its steps. And this is happening in Scorpio, the sign of secrets, investigations, and research. Meanwhile, Mercury will be back to normal forward motion, and getting away from Neptune will be in Pisces with Venus. That's Mercury, planet of facts, in Pisces, the sign of intuition, with Venus, planet of guidance. So, sounds like we will be getting to the truth. Just have to be patient a bit longer. And in the meantime, and in any case, Mr. Trump will be trumpeting that he is totally vindicated, and that we have to go after those monsters who sought to besmirch his reputation. So, what's going on in the Donald's Vedic astrology chart? Well, he's in his Saturn sub-period now, which is a rather rough one for any Leo rising person, and more so in Trump's case due to the weakness of his natal Saturn, which is at 0 degrees Cancer in his 12th house of endings. This sub-period is just getting started and continues for him for a couple more years, so plenty of time for all sorts of bad stuff to be happening for DJT. My main concern for him would be the strong potential for further mental deterioration as shown by Saturn's rulership of his 6th house of disease placed in the 12th house of the subconscious. Along with that, there's still the ongoing problem of more betrayal from advisors and lawyers, and from women in particular, due to his natal Saturn, representing the 6th house of enemies, placed in the 12th house of loss, and conjunct his natal Venus, which is simultaneously the planet of advice and advisors and females. Right now, in fact, just when the Mueller Report came out, Mars, up in the zodiac, has moved into Mr. Trump's 10th house, where the planet of action and combat juices up the Donald's propensity for action. But there's a problem. Mars puts out a full force 4th house square aspect ahead of itself, thereby challenging his ascendant degree and his natal Mars. So whatever actions he takes will bring even more conflict and controversy and enemies. Also, as Mars moves further into Taurus and his 10th house over the coming weeks, it comes into position to conjunct his natal Uranus, natal Rahu, natal Sun, and simultaneously oppose his natal Moon. Mars, the planet of force and conflict, affecting so many natal planets at once, means there will be a lot of fireworks. Okay, so that's going to be going on simultaneous later in April and May, with what will be happening with Mercury and Jupiter being in better shape than they are now, and more able then to contribute their energy for finding facts, truth, and justice. Thus, the planets tell us what the timing is. Just have to wait a few more weeks. So, get your popcorn ready. This should be interesting. By the way, have you noticed that there are no ads on this YouTube channel? That's because some viewers have responded to my request for donations. A big thank you to those who are helping to keep the Astrology News Report going and ad-free. You too can become a supporter. Just click on or touch the donation card you see here, which will take you to the donation page. Thanks, and until next week.